Keeping the balance between beauty and ugliness, and dealing with the after effects of an abusive childhood. And there is some background. I look at your photos, watch your videos. You are so exquisitely beautiful. In your face, your eyes, the way you move your hands to straighten and crease on your shirt. Everything about you is almost mesmerizing. But I sense pure as well. Because I see my projections and insecurities clearly. It helps to know you are the artist with very refined senses and tastes. I feel like somebody has to hold the ugly side of the spectrum. I don't know how to explain this. I see people who surround themselves with beauty and cut themselves off from ugly, making it wrong, or avoiding it inside themselves. Deeper to my dilemma about keeping the balance by having both beauty and ugliness is my inability to express, acknowledge, know my desires. I had an abusive childhood, so the feeling of pleasure is interwoven with guilt, shame, etc. I am now at the point where I manifest more and more easily, but the sense of victimhood and being a helpless object is still the main theme in my life. And I live my life as if keep pressing the gas and the brake pedal at the same time. The result is constant surviving mode, in brackets financially, and drifting through life with no sense of fulfillment or meaning. I've been doing a Vedic mantra practice for the past 3 years, and now I'm a 14 rounds week. Thank you. Questions. There are 4 questions, from A to D. I wonder, is this expression of beauty necessary? Why do you choose to make a promotional video about yourself? Because a lot of us will be attracted to your beauty. Is the goal? Question mark. I have this profound split towards beauty and pleasure because who's going to say yes to ugliness? What about the ugliness? Any thoughts on how to release the brake pedal? And in brackets and parentheses. So I can manifest better financially and get out of survival mode, but not explode. A smiling face. Not sure if you can help. Thank you. I like that part at the end. Not sure if you can help. Well, let's give it a go. Well, first of all, to the first part of your questions and to the first part of your sharing, first part of the background. You say you watch my videos and look at the photos, and you're complimenting me with exquisite beauty, and so it goes. And that everything that you say that about me is almost mesmerizing, but I sense pure as well as because I can see my projections and insecurities clear. What about ugliness? Well, my dear, the promotion materials is to lure you in. Come to my retreats, then you'll see the other side of it. This only meant to attract you. And I'm not different from any other teacher in the long corridor of time. You come to the teacher for whatever reason, he or she can lure you in, hook you. So whether this are good looks, some fabulous energy, or maybe a great success, or amazing discourses, ultimately it is to make you attracted by what this teacher meant to represent, by what this teacher would like to essentially deliver. But you come to my retreats and you'll see the other side of beauty. Trust me, it's just as terrifying. So you will have plenty of that opposite of what you're looking for and what you're questioning here. If you only want to stick with the videos, yes, at some point you'll get jaded with all this, what could then become as manierism. You'll get tired from the beauty, and I will get old by then as well. And I can't guarantee that I will age beautifully. I may actually decide to make something that would break that continuity. But if you come to my retreats now and sit with me, then you will know that beauty has two sides, always. It cannot be otherwise. I like your question very much for the boldness of it, for the frankness of it. You ask me now specifically, is this expression of beauty necessary? To tell the truth, beauty is not an exterior way of conveyance. It's a way of being. Artist or not, whatever we understand by that, some beings simply cannot help it. It's the way it is. It's the way of being. Someone does things differently because it makes no difference. Others go through great pain of adding an element of what others would say, wait a minute, why do they have to make everything so pretty, everything so beautiful? But the point here is not that. The point is that we have to be true to ourselves. I could argue, of course, and say that beauty here has different dimensions. There is this superficial, surface level to the beauty, that which everyone can sense and see. It's very easy to say that this child is beautiful and everyone will agree. Doesn't matter the child is from Somalia or from Manchuria. There is the sense of cuteness and beauty. Everyone will say that that fruit is beautiful. That mango is beautiful. It will be beautiful to the Chukcha. It will be beautiful to the Eskimos who never seen the mango. It will be beautiful to the one who eats these mangoes every day somewhere down in the tropical climates. Because the shape conveys that. The forms conveys that. Beauty has many dimensions, and the deeper dimension of beauty is that where we begin to experience something which otherwise is hidden. This is the dangerous dimension of beauty, where the beauty is not just superficial affair of simply something is cute or likable. There is this aspect to beauty which can drive us insane in a good sense. Beauty, above all else, exemplified through the experience of harmony. It is that equilibrium, if you will, of notes or shapes. Equilibrium of that what we intuitively understand, even without much preparation. Although a lot could be said about how some of us have this inborn ability to perceive beauty. With others, it's more of a cultured affair. So you ask me again, Kia, why do you choose to make promotional video about yourself? Because a lot of us will be attracted to your beauty. Is that the goal? And there's a question mark. If you ask my partner, or anyone who has been with me, anyone, I cannot just have a cup of tea as it is. I cannot just pour hot water into the mug and put the PG Tips into it. PG Tips, it's a most common brand of black tea, which I don't believe there is any tea in it. I think it's all just pigments and some kind of stuff that I would not advise anyone to even to try, because it's simply the very opposite of what tea is. yes, there is something that we wish to invoke. And beauty is an invocation. The act of beauty, the act of harmony is invocation of something. It's the quality of your own awareness. It's the impulse that is present with you just as it is present with me. If you perceive that beauty, if that does something to you, that means I have succeeded. Not I, as this being, individual, have succeeded. Something happened in consciousness. There is mutual act of recognition. Not even the physical beauty of which you speak, which I could take as a compliment or simply ignore. It's beside the point. I could say, thank you, darling, and pay you that compliment, although that would not be fair on my part. It will be a disingenuous compliment, because I cannot see you now. But as far as that exchange, it is that fair exchange. Indeed, whatever the promotional beauty, whatever the promotional material goes out of there, and you can ask my facilitators how much attention I give to that, so that it's not just recorded anyway, anyhow, but we do our best, and I am very, very strict about that. I don't give a leeway, and very often I'm more disappointed than pleased with the way it still goes out. You can find that in many other teachers. Teachers who gave great attention to formal aspect of their deliverance. You can find that and take it for granted in great traditions of Orient or Occident. You can find that in the Russian Orthodox Church, you can find that in Zen monastery. It is for the sake of beauty that drove them crazy to create this kind of settings and environment, isn't it not? Because through that beauty, something else could be invoked. It is what made the teachers as Adidasan Raj to make his sittings and settings beautiful in terms of their visual impact. Yes, some may argue that, but this is like a great act of narcissism. But that's beside the point. What was experienced there and then was important. Perhaps the same we could say about the beauty as what we often misunderstand. Beauty is not always sitting in front of pretty fabrics, wearing nice clothes. I could guarantee you that it was just as beautiful to receive a darshan of someone like Sai Baba of Shirdi, in all his wrinkled, unwashed clothes, in all his naked feet that he walked on the ground for days without washing them. It was still beautiful and homogeneous and organic in its experience. Not because it looks so on black and white pictures, but there is this element of beauty, and let us not be afraid of that. I welcome your challenge here. What about ugly? Who will hold the face to ugliness? Who will hold the mirror to ugliness? But I want you to understand that beauty contains precisely these extremes. Beauty is both that what gladdens the heart and that what terrifies the heart. You just simply chose to call it ugliness. I call it terrifying power of beauty. The true beauty is terrifying. A lovely day, cloudless day, nice, bright, crispy air of September, somewhere in California or here, Mediterranean for that matter, is not more beautiful than being in the middle of the tempest, when the hell breaks loose and everything pours down from above, trying to incinerate, as it were, wash away the mountains and the streets and the structures of the face of the planet. And I've seen the rains like that in Costa Rica. It is just as beautiful as sitting and enjoying on the sun. Who said that that's ugly? Yes, if maybe what you mean by ugliness is walking the slums of Mumbai or seeing children starve, or seeing an island of plastic forming somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. I'm happy to go there with you. If you want to go as far as to what real ugliness really represents, because otherwise what I gave you now are all two poetic examples, romantic in fact examples. Great romantics liked nothing more than dramatic expressions in nature and in landscapes. Great romantics, that if we Google, if we look into the history of art, there was this movement, romanticism, great romantics, in literature, in arts, in music. And what it characterized is love for wilderness. We could say that Rudyard Kipling Jungle Book is a work of a romantic. It's a novel for children, but it's a work of a great romantic. Not less than someone like Caspar Friedrich, who painted mountainscapes and views of the beyond of the beyond of the beyond, these landscapes that go into infinity. When you climb somewhere in the Alps, or I don't remember exactly where he lived, but what about the ugliness that out there in the world, exemplified by this what we just mentioned? Is this the ugliness you talk about? Because when you say, I have this profound split towards beauty and pleasure, because who is going to say yes to ugliness? What about the ugliness? What ugliness are you asking me? Are you asking about the ugliness of form? There is no such thing. For artists, there is no ugliness of form. In visual arts, there is no ugliness of form. And great artists, from Velázquez to Picasso, to modern day artists, I'm not talking about those who lost to the ideations of conceptual theories which require essentially knowledge of the art critic to supplement it by some long, lengthy press release to understand the work of art. I'm not talking about art that is by large swept across the 20th century, especially since the Second World War, trying to redefine the art. I'm just talking about a more traditional way of what art is and how we know the art. And there's no such thing as ugly in art. Or rather, there's no such thing as ugly for an artist. Everything for an artist is an object of admiration. It's the perspective, it's the way to see it. It's in the eye of the beholder. But if you're speaking about the ugliness in the sense of what now we could all agree and acknowledge that something utterly from the domain of this excess of the culture that byproduct of essentially civilization which lost its course, lost its purpose, lost its direction. Is this the ugliness you speak about? Ugliness as what? Ugliness as numbness? Well, to me, a lot of what conventionally will be understood as pretty or beautiful is ugly. Ugly in that sense. Ugly in the sense that it is dominated by form for the form's sake. That's what pornography is known. Pornography is that. In terms of art, pornography is not what commonly pornography understood. Very often artists, if they see something where you can do a portrait, someone who is perfectly dressed in a pullover, and that could still be an act of pornography. Not because parts of the skin are exposed, or someone in the sexual act. But the pornography here is the term that it's lost its aspect of conveying something through that work, which meant to transport us, and through the means of this transportation to behold something and give birth to new experience. And that's what true beauty is. So what you brought is a very, very big, essentially theme. What about ugliness? But first we need to establish, what do we understand by ugliness? What do we mean by ugliness? Someone considers themselves not being pretty. Is that being ugly? Someone considers themselves to be physically not beautiful. Is that being ugly? I'm not sure how much meat there is on the bone even to put our teeth into it, if you see what I mean. What I welcome you to contemplate and is that there is beauty lurking beneath the surface of every experience. And what makes someone truly an artist, not the fact that they completed academy or have diplomas, or even have contracts or work as artists, but ability to extract essence out of whatever and wherever they are. That's what art is by definition. And that's a primal quality of our awareness. It's a primal quality of our consciousness. Because consciousness creates. And that's what beauty is. It's an act of creativity, in whichever form it takes, whatever form it takes. But don't just take the surface side of it, because as I said, if you come to the retreat, you'll see a very different side of this teaching. A very different side. Finally, you're asking me, any thoughts on how to release the brake pedal? And I like your analogy. It's as if simultaneously pressing on the gas and the pedal and the brakes at the same time. Well, many people live like that. You're not speaking something here unusual. Many people precisely live like that. We're conditioned to live like that. We're conditioned to live our life with that pressing on the gas and the brakes simultaneously. It's life lived with not enough awareness. It's like literally lacking in understanding, lacking in consciousness. Creates this closed circuits, creates this closed circles where we don't know how to express ourselves fully. And at the same time, we suffer from, and because of that, because we don't know how, we already there and then limited our self-expression. And at the same time, we are eaten from within by desires for this expression. And this whole dilemma is of life essentially gone by and wasted opportunity, because it's a wasted opportunity for precisely for that, for self-expression. Self, expresses itself. So you're asking me, how can you manifest better financially and get out of the survival mode, but not explode? It's a cheeky question, as you know very well. Very cheeky, because you want spiritual teacher to tell you how to manifest better financially, right? There are so many factors, you see? So many factors. And you just need to be smart about that. Yes, you want to understand why, for instance, you have this. Maybe you need to look into your astrological chart, properly made, to see what is this planetary situation. What are the conditions at birth that create a personality such as yourself that is limited by certain conditionings? This will all be there, clearly indicated. And look into this with honesty, sincerity, and bravery, with courage, because understanding and acknowledgement of that will free tremendous amount of energy. Acceptance will come from that. Though this is the first kind of acceptance. The first kind of acceptance is to accept where we come from. Accept the whole set of circumstances we have to deal with. Without it, our life will always be under the shadow, self-imposed shadow of self-pitying and or self-aggrandizement. It's the same thing. Whether someone feels that they are great or someone feels they're miserable, it's two sides of the same coin. But knowing that there are karmic repercussions for everything, and I'm not using this as a cop-out the teacher uses, like blame it all on karma. No, it's simply a universal scientific truth, scientific fact. We're all here experiencing results of our actions, that's all. Nothing more, nothing less, simple. The quicker we understand that, the easier it is to deal with it. One way or the other. The longer we fight that, the more harder it is, and the more we perpetuate that sorry story about ourselves. The sorry story belongs to an outlive paradigm if we are to live life of what life is. And life is life lived in bliss, regardless of the status of our bank account. And I'm not going to even go there, that, oh, if only I had that, this and that. It never works like that, and never will, and never did. Never happiness was paramount to what we had in life, on any level. Never, and never will be, because the happiness doesn't come from objects of experience. It comes from the luminosity which illumines these objects. It comes from the light of awareness that illumines every experience. That's where happiness comes from. So we have to simply be in the possession of that light. Not intellectually, but simply, as a matter of fact, as it is. I could say energetically, it should be a matter of direct cognition. It has to be cognized, experienced. Then, whatever we are gifted with, is a cherry on a cake. Whatever there is, that good life is a cherry on the cake. But there has to be a cake, rich layer of cake, several layers. A good base, nice and creamy, well baked, and nice several layers of that mousse and the chocolate and what have you. Organic, 100% Colombian or whatever Peruvian beans, cocoa beans you like. That life cake has to be already there. Anything that we add is a cherry. And if there's no cherry, it doesn't matter. But of course, we often are lost to this because we feel that unless I have this, unless I have that, and from that the sorry story is perpetuated. So another level to acceptance is, of course, to go beyond just, oh, I accept my childhood, I accept my parents. Existence needs to be accepted, full stop. Existence as it is, accepted. Every moment in that existence is a glory, hidden by the fluctuations of the mind. So when you ask me how can you manifest financially better, I'm not astrologer and not a fortune teller. Do you see any crystal ball in this room? I don't see any crystal balls here. No fortune telling here. Yes, I have some nice crockery here. Yes, in this room downstairs I do have few nice teapots and I do have some treasured possessions. I'm not the sannyasin with the katamba bowl. I have a lot of luxurious objects here, acquired throughout my life. Some I parted with, others I kept. But I don't have crystal balls here and I don't tell who and how to make a fortune. You are fortunate enough to be a human being. That is your greatest fortune. Nothing can be more fortunate, but it will take some time to realize that, or to understand that, or to arrive to that. So when you ask me how to do better financially, I don't give a hoot how you can get better financially. Does that sound already less pretty? Is my beauty diminished? Did I show you the other side? Tend to your consciousness and you'll see how everything will simply reflect back. The universe will begin to smile. The nature will smile at you. 3 years you've been practicing Vedic mantra. And now you are 14 rounds a week. Not sure what that means. Okay, twice a day. I hear you. Perfect. Very good. That should do its trick. Vedic mantras are very good if received sincerely, with innocence from a qualified teacher. If not an adept, then it will do its job. Just be diligent with your practice. Just realize that you will be able to do better financially simply by freeing the amount of energy for being able to manifest from a more subtle level than by pure action of doing this or that. Not that I'm suggesting you should sit 6 hours a week, 6 hours a day, and manifesting that way through trying to make objects out of air. No. But as you become more proficient in meditation, you will begin to see and realize how there is essentially inner alignment and realignment within creates this possibility for nature to take care of your needs as they rise with less degree of stress otherwise required for that. And that in itself is a breakthrough. Already you'll be doing better off, even when met with challenges. The creativity will unleash, and that in itself will bring more on the table. So I hope this will be an encouragement for you.